welcome to today's bag making class. So today we'll be doing a clutch bag, and I have two finished clutch bag pieces here. This one has a twist lock, so you twist it like that and it opens like this, and that's the inner part of the bag with a handmade tag in there and a pocket, and then the leather. So this is not real leather, and I run a stitch on the side. So this is one design with a twist lock. It serves as a clutch bag or a purse, whichever way you want to use it. And then there's this one with the bowl as the centerpiece or the focal point on the bag. And this also has a metallic clasp that locks it in, and it has a pocket. I finished the inner part of this with fabric, but that made it a little bit difficult stitching on it. So in the presentation I'm going to be making today, I'm not going to be using the fabric to finish the inner part. So let's look at our tools. For our cutting tools, I have the rotary cutter, and I have the knife, this cutter. I also have my snippers, measuring tools. I have a tape measure and a ruler. These will be my measuring tools for the project. And then I have my glue. I'm going to be using the Gorilla Glue and then the Unibond glue. I have my handmade tag, which I'm going to be putting on the pocket. And then I have some pegs, craft pegs, to help me as I go along. I have a thimble to help me in my stitching, and then I have my metallic clasp. So we'll fit it, and you get to know how to fit a metallic clasp when we get there. I also have my stitching tools, so this is going to help me make my holes as I stitch. My little hammer, craft hammer or mallet, is going to help me to make my holes as I stitch. My thread and my steel needle is what I'm going to be using today. I have my stencil nearly prepared. So this is my stencil. It's just about the size of an A4 sheet, because that is the size of the leather I'm going to be using, and that is around 11.5 inches. I'll be working in inches, so 11.5 inches, just about the size of the leather I'm going to be using. So 11.5 inches by 8.5 inches is what I'm going to be using. And then I'm going to be dividing my stencil into 3 parts. So my first third is going to be 4.5 inches. So 4.5 inches. This bit is also going to be 4.5 inches in measurement, 4.5 inches. And then the remaining bit is what is going to be the clasp that goes over it. That is going to be 3 inches. So I run a line along it. What we're doing now is to develop our stencil for the bag. Then we'll be able to put the fold in and know exactly what we're doing. So for this bag, this is the stencil we're trying to achieve. So this bit here is the top part, and that is the flap that goes on top of the bag. This bit here will be for the back here, and then the bottom bit here will be for the front part. So that is. So we have our stencil now. I'll just fold it along the lines. I'm going to fold it along the lines, our marking lines. My first fold, then my second fold. It's that simple. Just to be able to develop the shape of our bag. From it here. Okay, so that is our bag. That is going to be the shape of our bag with metallic clasps going inside, and then the bows come on top of it. So that is it. These are our bows. So these bows, I did them as well, but you can, if you're not that good at drawing, you can get them printed on the internet. So for the little bow, what I did was I got an object that had the bottom bit rounded, so I put it on the side, knowing exactly what I want to do. I put it there and do my first circle around it. So with some pressure on top of it, you draw around your bottle. You draw around the bottle. Then I know that my next half is going to be on the side, but I want to be sure that I have both circles lined up. So I'll just run a line on the top of it and then run another line at the bottom of it, just to know that I'm going to be able to have both circles centered directly opposite each other and not having one going up and the other. So you first draw your circle, then you put a line on the top and at the bottom, just so that you can center the next circle on the side. What I know is I want to leave about 1/4 of an inch in the middle. So I'll put my ruler at the top here and then make 1/4 of an inch. My inch is on this end, so make 1/4 of an inch in the middle. So from here to here, just draw about 1/4 of an inch. Rotate the ruler to the other end so that the bottom of my ruler is touching this line, and then draw another 1/4 of an inch from here to here. So 1/4 of an inch here to here is 1/4. That's the gap I want to leave. So this helps me do my marking in the middle here. All I did was to place my ruler and align it to the top line here. When I do that, I'll be able to put in my first 1/4 of an inch marking on this side. And then I'll rotate it and bring it onto this end, and then I'll place in this 1/4 of an inch marking. So that is what I did. Now the next step is to put my rounded object closer to what I've already done, just to be able to connect the other circle on the side, and with pressure on top of the object, draw around this object as well. Okay, just trying to get my hands out of the way so that you can see. Draw around this object. So I have 2 circles now. Just as I created this bridge in the middle, I'm going to have to create another bridge on this side and another bridge on this side. And this is what they are. So I'm going to create this bridge here and then this bridge here. Let me put some shaded markings there so that you see it properly. So I'm creating this bridge here and then this bridge here as well. And what that does is we're going to fold this end to meet at the back, and then fold this end to meet at the back. So that's why we are creating the bridges, and this gives us our bow, and that is what we have on top here. So depending on how big you want your bow to look, that is how wide you'll be going for your circles. So let me finish with this dart, and then I'll end with the bows, knowing that you have to vary the sizes if you want a bigger circle. So with the next size, I used something bigger on the rounder surface than the one I used. So you can see that both objects vary in sizes. So depending on what you want to achieve, you pick your objects accordingly. So I wanted to achieve 2 sizes for my bow, so that gave me these I have here. I'm going to finish off my bow darts on the side now. So in the same way as I place, I'm going to align my ruler to the top and try and do 1 inch here. It's always good to give yourself 1 inch at the ends, and at the ends just half an inch, sorry, at the ends, just in case you need more room, you have it. So half an inch as well on this side. Rotate my ruler just so that I'll be able to finish off on the other side. Half an inch on both sides. Do half an inch here, half an inch here, and that we have it. So I'm going to cut here all around this object like that, and then I'll have this shape. So I'll have 2 of them for the bows. I'm going to leave them on the side and try and come up with the bow legs or the bow tails, whatever you want to call it. I first got my centerpiece, and with free hands I just did one side of it like that. You know, I did one side of it, free hands, finished it in. You keep drawing it until you get exactly what you want. So this is going to be 1/2 of it, and when I cut it, I'm going to flip it over to be able to get the opposite side as well. So I'll just get 1/2 of the bow legs or the bow tails done freehand, just the way I want it to look. And whilst I'm doing that, I'm going to have in mind that it will be proportional to the bows themselves. You know, so I'll just draw one side of it like a fishtail, and when I've done that, I'll flip it over, cut it out, flip it over, and then trace it around for the other side. And that is what I did. You can see it. I first drew this bit, tried cut it out, and then I flipped it over and I traced the other side to get the bow tails. So we have our stencils for the bows done, and I'm going to place them here whilst we go on to the main work. And this is my leather. So you can see that the leather is just about the size of my stencil, and this will be for my bow. I'm going to set this on the side and start working with this. I'm going to transfer these markings just onto the corners, not too much, because I don't want them to be permanent markings in the bag when we are done, but try and align them with the bag and try and put my markings in place, so just to help me know exactly what I'm doing. Just on one side alone it will be enough, because I'll be able to align it on this end when I folded it over and the edges are meeting each other. So this is my first marking. I'm going to fold it over, and when my edges are meeting each other on both sides, then I know that I can have equal foldings on the other end as well. Okay, so that is it, and I have it here. I'll get my craft pegs to put them in place. To help me put them in place. So you can see that the bag is taking its shape already, and that's how simple it is. Now I'm going in to get my pockets made, and this is how I'm going to do it. If you don't want to mess up your stencil, that's fine, but I can always get it out of it. So I'm going to get my pocket done, because this is where my pocket is going to be, in the middle of the bag here. So I'm going to generate my pocket now from here and then cut it out. I want to be able to center my pocket correctly, so what I'll do is fold my stencil in vertically into into 2 equal halves, so that I'll be able to center my pocket properly. And this is what I'm going for. So I'm having 5 inches wide of my pocket like that. That's how wide it's going to be. And I'm going to have 3.5 inches coming down. 3.5 inches coming down on this side as well. And draw across. And draw across the line. So this is the size of my pocket. I'm going to cut it out and use it as my stencil to cut out my pocket on my leather. And this is the leather I want to use for my pocket. So I'll just place it at the corners here. And then I'll cut along this edge and this edge. This is my pocket. Now the next step is to place this handmade tag on top of it, and that is the next thing we're going to be doing. What I would like to do now is put this into 2 equal halves, put the pocket into 2 equal halves, try and locate the center bit of my pocket so I know where the line is. Do the same for this, just to crank it a little bit and know exactly where the middle is. I'm going to line up my middle lines like that and make a hole through the leather, and that will make my stitching quite easy. What I found easier when I was doing it was to put a little glue on this side and just a little bit, dab a little glue on that side. Just dab a little glue on it, just a little glue on it, like that, to keep the tag in place whilst you are stitching, and that makes it easier and prevents it from moving about. So we should have done that before making the holes, you know, just make sure it's in the right place, centered properly before you make your holes. Like that, and then we repeat it on this side as well. So I'm going to leave this to dry up just a little bit, and then we come back to stitch it in. So with the needles threaded, and this is a carpet needle or a sack needle, or you know, but mine is quite long. You can have it shorter if you prefer, but this is what I have at the minute. So I'm going to try and do a few tack stitches on this end here and on this end here to keep it secured, to keep the handmade tag secured so that it doesn't move, if you can see it. So I'm going to go in from the back. I have my thread knotted, so my thread is knotted on one end here. I'm going to coming from the back to the front. So this is it. You have to be careful. You can use a thimble if you are not too sure of yourself. So just use a thimble, you know. And my thread is doubled, so I can just decide to do just one stitch because it's just, and my thread is very thick. I'm using a very thick stitching thread, leather stitching thread, so I'll just do one stitch and try and finish it on the back and cut off my excess thread. So I'll try and make a knot here. Okay, I'm going to bend the ends of my, I've made a knot already, but I want to bend the ends to just keep it a bit shorter before I go in to stitch the other end here of my handmade tag. So I have my tag in place. Now the next thing to do is to set in our clasp. I'm going to set in the clasp, because if you set in the clasp before you stitch the ends, or you stick your pocket. It's easier that way. So now that I don't have a lot of things on the main body of the bag, I'm going to set in my clasp before we move on. So this is what I'll do. I'm going to find the center bit. Now I'm going to find where my fold is going to be. So my fold is going to be about here. So I know that my upper clasp, that is this bit here, which is going to go on top of my bag, is going to be around somewhere here. So I'm going to first make my fold and find exactly where the clasp is going to be. Now I've done this already, so I know it's going to be around somewhere here. And at this point, I don't want to put any markings in there. You can put a marking in there if you want, or you can just put a sticky tape in there somewhere to help you figure out exactly where, you know, your first horizontal fold is. This is just a guide, so you can always take it out, you know. So I know my first horizontal fold is about here, so it's going to come here. Now I'm going to try and fold it onto this side as well and figure out my midpoint. I know it's going to be somewhere here, so I'm trying to make a crease on that end to find out. So it's here, somewhere here, and my fold meets above my sticky tape on this end, and I know the center bit is here. So if I should position, I'm going to try and position this first, the bottom bit first. So if I should position it in between here and there, I should be able to have it go over it successfully. Now let's see, just before we make the hole, so we know exactly what we're doing. Okay, so I'm going to push it in slightly. You know, it's just a matter of trying to figure out what it's going to look like before you make your hole in it. So I'm going to go this way. Now I've been able to figure out exactly where I want to do it. The good thing is this clasp, metal clasp, has these legs, and these can help you create your markings in the back like that, you know, before you make your hole. So you create your markings. You have to be gentle with it, but you can see that it's done the markings for me. It's not too clear, but at least there are some dots in here, and that is where I'm going to be going in to do my cutting from. Little bit of marking in here and another one in here, and I'm going to push the clasp legs like that into it because I've made my hole already. Should be able to push it into it like that. Push it into it like that, and I'm going to put a cover over it. Now you can go straight away and put a cover over it and then just press the legs down, or cut another piece of leather as a backing to make it very strong, to give this some bit of strength if you wish to, before you put that on top of it. But I'm going to go straight and then put this on top of it like that and press.